Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Getting More from Backup Exec with Veritas. Today we have three speakers. Scott Holmes, our Senior Data Center and Cloud Consultant at Softcat, Olivia Edwards, Partner Sales Engineer, and Edward Halse, Partner Sales Manager from Veritas. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that you can submit questions at any time during the webinar using the Q&A tool on the console, and all being well, we will take some time at the end to go through these and answer the questions that you've asked. We also want to let you know a recording of this webinar will be emailed to you by tomorrow. If you have any questions following this, please speak to your Softcat account manager or email marketing@softcat.com if you don't already have direct contact. I will now pass over to Scott to start the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Zana, and hello, everybody, and good afternoon, and thank you for making some time this afternoon to join us. So I'll just really frame proceedings and really get out of the way for Ed and Olivia to talk you through a lot of the recent developments and changes in the Backup Exec portfolio. But I just really wanted to start just saying a few words about really what we're seeing as the major changes in the market, and hopefully this talks to some of the challenges that you're all seeing and resonates really as how you're trying to manage the change in how your applications and your data are manifesting. So for those who don't know, the data center and infrastructure team within Softcat, that's where I sit, we're a kind of overlay team of about 50 guys and gals. We work to support the account management teams and their customers, most importantly, who are wrestling with any challenges relating to the data center. So that typically spans physical infrastructure, so co-location and hosting, etc. Physical servers, storage, top-of-rack switching layers, but more frequently and perhaps more importantly, the abstraction layers around software management, orchestration, automation. And a key part of that, obviously, is data protection. Now, I'm kind of very keen to stay away from any COVID-related kind of buzzwords. And actually, this topic is easy to do so because the themes and the trends that have been emerging in the kind of backup, data protection, disaster recovery space over the last couple of years, really kind of override the more recent changes we're seeing. So the narrative is still the same, but perhaps has become a little more important for people as getting to data centers, getting to facilities has become perhaps a little more difficult recently. But really to move on to what I think probably represents most organizations' realities nowadays is there is a plethora of choice about where to run applications and what resources to use, how to consume and purchase those resources, and really ultimately what delivery model is used. What's happening and what's manifesting from that perspective is data is potentially everywhere. You'll likely still have some data sat on primary storage on premise. You may have some hyper-converged or virtualized storage, again in a private cloud type model. You may be utilizing a managed service from a cloud provider. You may be in one of the global hyperscale clouds, the GCPs, Azure and AWS. And you may be consuming and probably are consuming a variety of SaaS services, 365 and Salesforce, a number of others. So whereas data used to be very handily for all of us in one place, we could point to our storage and point to our tape libraries and know exactly where every copy of everything was. That world is simply not true anymore. And this is, over the years, is compounding and making the data protection challenge a lot more difficult for organizations. And really what Softcat's raison d'etre is in that space is we exist to try and help our customers figure out the right responses to these types of questions. And there's no single brushstroke, there's no solution or fix or technology that ultimately fixes any problems you have. But really it's about looking at what technologies are already in place and how might you be able to optimize the usage of those or adapt it slightly to keep pace with the modern changes. And if we look at really what those changes are likely to be and already are for most, but will continue to do so, it is really a quick exploration of where those workloads are likely to end up. And the prediction from the likes of Gartner are that within a few years, the majority of our data will no longer be in the places that it is today or was yesterday, with the overwhelming majority being, as I mentioned previously, scattered to those four corners of the infrastructure world, if you like. So last words from me really, and to I suppose tee up Ed and Olivia to really get into the meat of how Veritas are kind of stepping up and helping customers to address this challenge. It is, I guess, a quick pictorial view of what we see as crucial in the effective management of modern organizations' infrastructure. So clearly, we place data at the heart of everything. I think that's probably the overriding view. The applications that people use to get to that data are obviously key. And then we have these concentric circles around the outside. So around the perimeter, obviously, we need to connect to them. We need to secure them. But then we have these representations of really the key building blocks. And I've highlighted data assurance there as really, becoming more important than ever. How do we know that we have the right copies of data, we're retaining them for the right time, we're storing them and protecting them and making them available to the business should we need to restore those. And again, just to compound that challenge that we no longer really know where they are, and that data, those applications, and the tooling we use to protect them are now so diverse that it's posing a struggle for many organizations to get to them. So on that note, I'll hand first of all to Ed, who will also in turn introduce Olivia. Who'll take you through the next 45 minutes or so of the key updates within Veritas to really talk to how customers of Veritas can modify and augment their existing technology adoption to really start making use of a whole range of new capabilities and technologies within that area. So on that note, thank you again for joining us, and I will pass over to Ed. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. And great to be here, guys, and really appreciate the time that everyone's taken out of, I'm sure, their very busy schedules to speak with us. And thank you for either being a current Backup Exec customer or previously been or worked with Backup Exec. So I'm going to run through a quick agenda and a few details, and then I'm going to pass over to Olivia to kind of run through really the meat of the session around Backup Exec and around the kind of advancements that we've put forward over the last 12 months and really what's happening moving forward. So in terms of briefly around the partnership with Softcat and Veritas, very, very strong. It's a great partnership to be working with. I manage the two together. So in terms of Softcat and the value that they're bringing to us, it's second to none by our largest partner in the UK by a number of Backup Exec customers. So in terms of what we're going to be running through, obviously it's all about what's new and how we are making sure that our customers that have changing and complex requirements can be suited with Backup Exec. Couple of misconceptions that we have out there in the market at the moment where Veritas or Backup Exec is maybe seen as a little bit legacy. That's absolutely not the case, and we're kind of here today to kind of show you exactly that we are leading the way in terms of innovation and the amount of time and money that we're spending to future-proof the platform and also customers' requirements. So we're going to be kind of jumping into a little bit about cloud, running through where and how to play with cloud with Backup Exec, whether that's a choice for you right now or whether that's something that's coming up or maybe being pressured onto you by your business. Lots around disaster recovery we're going to talk about today. Lots of people are using Backup Exec today is very much a backup tool. However, there's a lot in there that we've advanced on with Backup Exec around disaster recovery, specifically looking about leveraging cloud for that. We'll run through, obviously, the topic that never kind of goes away, ransomware. There's some great stuff that we've been able to bring out to help customers battle the issue that never seems to stop around ransomware. And then we'll round off with a bit of GDPR, because who doesn't love a bit of compliance, but with some features that have come out that potentially may be able to help in that regard. So then we'll run through a bit of a roadmap. Olivia, our engineer on the call, who will be taking the helm shortly, she's got access to what's coming down the road with Backup Exec. So ultimately, there's going to be some good stuff to listen to there. And then we'll round off with a Q&A because we want to hear from you guys if there's questions. The session is great when it's interactive as well. So in terms of where you're at, lots of customers that we work with using Backup Exec and Veritas products, they kind of fit into three categories. You're either using a really old version of Backup Exec. It's very common that we're speaking to customers that are using version 12 or 14 or 16 or even 20, which is now outdated because we're on 21.1, and we'll talk more about that. Or potentially, you're out of support. There's lots of customers that haven't actually renewed their support contract, which has meant, one, the product still works, which is a testament to the engineering team here at Veritas, but what that does mean is you don't get access to the latest version, right? And then there's customers in that kind of final bucket that have the latest version but don't really know what it can do, don't really know the features or some of the key pieces. They've maybe been, you've been using Backup Exec primarily to back up physical, maybe virtual environments, don't really understand where we play in cloud. So, today is really about helping you guys on the call today, getting more from what you've already got. So, moving on, in terms of what Backup Exec now is fundamentally a platform to protect and manage data that sits in physical, virtual, and cloud workloads. We are seeing a plethora of customers now really shift to leveraging public cloud or private cloud in some way. And that's absolutely something that we've been playing very, very strong in over the last couple of releases, last couple of years within the Backup Exec portfolio. So just to kind of put to bed any misconceptions that we think, Veritas is primarily a physically on-prem environment backing up to tape. That's not the case. And there's some really good stuff that if you're using Backup Exec today that you can get, or if we're looking at getting you to the latest version, you're going to get access to very, very quickly. So all around, it's a platform that if you're using multiple different products right now, we are suited to help simplify that for you. Very common that we're speaking to customers that use maybe 2 or 3. Maybe it's a free version for virtual, or maybe some built-in native tools within the cloud. Explore what Backup Exec can do for you, because one, it's just less time. I think we could all agree that we'd like to get some time back, even though we're all working from home. Most of us, we seem to be, more busy than ever. So if nothing else, we can help simplify the amount of time and lessen the amount of time that you're spending, and standardize your policies across, multiple platforms. Kind of back to Scott's point about, leveraging lots of different areas around public, private, physical, and virtual workloads. So I'm going to just cover off a couple of innovations that we've made and kind of the investments that we made. Then I'm going to pass over to Olivia to kind of run through really, the technical part of this session, which you guys have signed up for. So what I wanted to just make really clear is we're investing in Backup Exec. I mean, Veritas invests in its products anyway. However, Backup Exec is something that we've kind of done this and shown this through our releases. So last 12 months, we've had 4, major releases of Backup Exec. We're currently at 21.1. That's literally hot off the press as of this month. We're in the latest version. We're also planning 2 future releases. So we usually plan 2 releases ahead. So the engineering team is always trying to innovate. And I was on a call yesterday with that engineering team, and some of their aspirations and goals for next year, especially around some virtualization piece, is really, really exciting about reducing the sheer time and effort that it takes to compute a lot of the backups. So, in terms of making sure that you're with a company and a product that is always going to change and grow, I think we're doing a good job with the likes of Backup Exec and the likes of Veritas. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Olivia to kind of run through effectively here on out.
Thanks, Ed. Good afternoon to everyone as well. So I thought I'd start really just looking over a couple of the key features that were released in BE 21.1. So what you'll see on your screen is those features in red are those that are new to BE 21.1, and those in blue are just important features from previous versions that I thought would be very useful to highlight. So a couple of the new features, we'll start with support for SQL Server Always On. So Backup Exec now supports protecting SQL databases using SQL Server Always On availability groups. And the aim of this was really to simplify the overall backup and restore experience for those using SQL Server 2012 and later. Another really great feature that has been added is the ability to now support protecting cloud-based file shares. So that is Amazon FSx for Windows and Azure files as well. So really what we're doing is further strengthening our unified story with even more cloud support. We've got additional platform support. So in terms of operating system, we support the latest Windows Server and Windows 10. In addition, we support now Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8.0 and 8.1. In addition to that, there's workloads such as SharePoint 2019, Oracle 18c, cloud regions on top of that as well. But one feature in terms of our security story is Backup Exec now uses password-based key derivation function too. So it's an enhanced key generation algorithm, and it's just really another option when it comes to securing your data with Backup Exec. So that's just a couple of things that have been released in BE 21.1. When you're looking at things in previous version that we're going to cover today is really around cloud. And what we can do around our cloud story, ransomware. So we'll be looking at Ransomware Resilience and GDPR Guard as well. And really just to give you a good overview of what you can do with Backup Exec. So we're going to start with the cloud story first. So a lot of customers are just being introduced to cloud, so they are just getting started with it, or they're actually currently using cloud but not aware really of how Backup Exec can fit into that story. And really it doesn't matter if you're using the cloud for long-term retention, for an example, or a disaster recovery site, Backup Exec can be used in that scenario. In addition, Backup Exec can be run in the cloud. So if you have, for example, data running in Azure, AWS, Google, we can protect that data. We can ensure you've got a backup infrastructure that is completely cloud-based. Also, if you've got undergoing a migration, so you still want an on-prem environment, but you are looking at utilizing the cloud more, that is something that Backup Exec can definitely help you with. And you can also ensure you've got a full hybrid backup scenario in place. So when it comes to leveraging the power of the cloud with Backup Exec, we allow you to easily incorporate cloud storage and workloads into your backup strategy. As you can see, we give you a variety of ways to utilize the cloud, whether that's disk to cloud, disk to disk to cloud, within the cloud, cloud to cloud, or if you're just using it for replication for DR. We also give you the power of choice. So you get to choose the vendor that is best for you, whether you're using public cloud, private, or you want hybrid. And we continue to certify vendors at a rapid pace. So as you can see, it's not just the top three. So typically you consider that to be AWS, Azure, and Google. We support IBM Cloud, Scality, Cloudian, and that is continuing to grow in addition to the regions that are supported as well. One thing to mention that is a fantastic feature is the fact that connecting to cloud is completely free. So if you are on a version that supports cloud and you're typically looking at version 15 or later, you can connect to cloud completely for free. That is included within your licensing. All that is required is that you set up cloud storage and you set up the connector from the Backup Exec console. It's really simple, really easy, and I'd say it takes about 5 minutes to do. If you're looking at, say, using the cloud for DR, off-siting your backup data can be the best way to recover from an infrastructure attack, such as ransomware. And being able to stage your backups and finalize them to the cloud can allow you to quickly recover from such a situation. And because BE allows you to manage your backup sets no matter where they reside, you can quickly access the data you need to recover. So we've got a really nifty feature with Azure that I will talk through in a couple slides later, but that is a fantastic way of being able to ensure you can utilize the cloud as a DR site. The final thing I'm going to mention is inline deduplication. So you do have the ability to dedupe directly to the cloud and hence save on storage costs, and you don't hammer your network going to the cloud. The dedupe capabilities is something that is continually being improved as we move through the versions. And in addition to that, it's not just, say, deduping to the cloud. We also have what we call global deduplications, that we define that as deduplication across all servers, application, and infrastructure. So really what we're trying to do is help you reduce hardware infrastructure requirements and network bandwidth overhead as well. So one thing to mention is if you are using or are looking to use Azure or AWS, you can access Backup Exec via their marketplace. So that if, for example, you're looking at actually installing it and running it in the cloud, this is a perfect way for you to be able to access this software. So a bit of a side step from Backup Exec, I just thought I would mention Office 365, G Suite, Salesforce, the kind of the SaaS workloads that the customers and you guys most likely are using on a day-to-day basis, and just really to have a discussion around how they can and be used with Backup Exec as well. So what we offer for enterprise-grade protection of SaaS workloads, and as you can see here, we've got Dynamics, Office 365, G Suite, and Salesforce. We offer a cloud-based service called SaaS Backup. It's a fantastic product, really easy to use and set up. It's built like a set it and forget it. So unlike, say, with your on-prem backups, you'd create them and then monitor them and manage. With SaaS Backup, what you do is you set up your backups and then they are automated from then on. The way it is licensed is per user per year. So your license cost is simply just the TCO. And with the license, you get unlimited storage and configurable retention as well. On top of that, you get all the things you typically want to see within a backup product. So data encryption, we are GDPR compliant as well, and you've got things like multi-factor authentication and SSO as well. So SaaS Backup and Backup Exec are completely separate products. However, there is some integration between the two. And with Backup Exec, what you can do is you can actually view the audit logs for the SaaS Backup workloads from the Backup Exec console. So it's just something that is worth mentioning, because a lot of the time you're not just looking at on-prem backup. You also need to look at protection for your SaaS workloads, because it can be something that isn't very well known that it needs to be protected, but it is definitely something that is recommended to be protected, especially because nowadays emails and all those documents that you are shared are very, very important. So that was just a quick sidestep. If anyone does want any more information on SaaS Backup, feel free to get in touch and we can have another discussion on that, but I won't spend too much time on it today. So the next area I'd like to talk about is disaster recovery. So we've got a couple of options when it comes to recovery with Backup Exec. So Simplified Disaster Recovery is automatically installed with Backup Exec, and this allows you to perform disaster recovery on Windows computers on which an agent for Windows is installed. By default, Backup Exec is configured to back up all of the critical system components that you need to perform a disaster recovery. And once you've got that backup of the critical system components, you can create a disaster recovery disk, which can then be used during disaster recovery. So recovery includes a bare metal restore or a dissimilar hardware restore operation as well. So that is just something to be aware of. In addition, you've not just got bare metal recovery and dissimilar hardware recovery. You can do physical to virtual, virtual to physical conversions, convert to virtual without a backup stream, as you can see. So there's a lot of options for it, and it is a really great feature within the product. A feature that I mentioned previously on another slide, but I will now give it a name, is Instant Cloud Recovery. So basically what it is Backup Exec users get a disaster recovery powered by Azure Site Recovery. So we are the only vendor that is actually certified to use Azure Site Recovery, and you can set up the Microsoft Azure infrastructure in Backup Exec as well. So obviously you will need an Azure, I can't think of the word, Azure subscription, but you can actually set up all this from the Backup Exec console. So what you can do with when utilizing this feature is you can monitor the health of virtual machines that are managed from Azure Site Recovery. You can independently day-to-day monitor of your virtual machines from the BE console. And what it will allow you to do is it can help enable replication for your on-prem virtual machines whose hosts are configured with the Azure Site Recovery. So if you get an outage or a failure, what you can do is you can fail over those replicated virtual machines to Azure to ensure that they are then available for business operations. So essentially you're using the cloud as a disaster recovery service, and it is powered by Azure. As you can see, it supports Hyper-V and VMware VMs, and I know this image is a little bit fuzzy, but what you can do is you can basically manage your replications, get an idea from this console which virtual machines are protected, which are unprotected, and where they recommend to actually test a failover. So you'll be able to see this in a little bit more detail on this slide. So as I was mentioning before, it really gives you a good overview of which systems are critical, which systems are healthy, which systems might actually not necessarily need to be failed over, but you can get an instant view and a graphical view of the state of your system and how healthy it is. And then in addition to that, it actually recommends, as I mentioned previously, to test just to ensure that you've got, when you do actually want to fail over, everything will fail over and be successful. And as you can see here, you can perform successful tests as well. So this is something that is a brilliant feature, and it's actually a feature that isn't really shouted about enough, I think. Obviously, it is, you have to be an Azure customer, but I think it is definitely something to raise with you guys. So what we're going to talk about next is ransomware. So we have a couple of really nifty features within Backup Exec that are there to aid with ransomware and prevent ransomware attacks, but I just thought I would start talking a little bit about the true cost of a ransomware attack. So you guys are aware that with a ransomware attack, there is a very high chance you will get data loss if the ransom is not paid. But on top of that, you've also got some other negative things that can be associated with ransomware attacks. So collateral damage, that could include reputation loss, loss in confidence from stakeholders and investors. If you've got downtime, for example, if you're a company that needs to be highly available all the time and you've got downtime, that could not just affect your reputation, but you could also accrue massive costs because of that. So really what we want to do is be less reactive with ransomware. We want to ensure that we're being proactive with the technology. So Veritas as a whole suggests five easy steps, and this is across all our technology. I'm sure you are all aware of these, but I thought I'd just go over them very quickly. So making copies, this is an obvious but important step. If ransomware encrypts the only copy of a file, there is a good chance you won't recover it. Isolating the data as well, and isolation of backups is especially relevant to a ransomware attack. Because it's a small step for hackers to move from encrypting files on startup drives to actually attacking data on external drives and shared networks. And it's relatively easy actually for companies to isolate backup data. So whether that's using tape or read-only cloud storage, it's just a really good step and a really good, it's just a really good step to take in your ransomware protection. In addition to that, setting appropriate retention periods. So with Backup Exec, you've got data lifecycle management, so you can actually manage the retention periods, and you can ensure that copies of different files need to be kept and where they should be stored is correct. So a first step, for example, may be to move older backups to cheaper, perhaps slower storage, such as tape or cloud, as they are less likely to be needed urgently. And with Backup Exec, a master catalog will help to keep track of where data is stored and where, and that is included within the lifecycle policies. Applying a 3-2-1 rule. So it's always a good thing just to recap this and make sure to keep at least 3 copies of data on at least 2 devices with at least 1 copy offsite. And it doesn't matter with Backup Exec where that offsite copy is. It could be tape in Iron Mountain, it could be cloud, or it could just be a secondary data center. Really, with Backup Exec, we give you the flexibility to store your data where you want it to be stored and to access it just through one console and through one pane of glass. And lastly, to run fire drills is our last recommendation. So really making sure that you can recover data when you need it. So as you saw with instant cloud recovery, you've got that ability to test the recovery of your virtual machines and really just ensure that if in the event of an actual failover or outage, that everything will be really smooth sailing. Something also to mention, which I've not got any slideware on, but is a feature called Recovery Ready. So if you have got virtual machines and they are protected by Backup Exec, you have the ability to actually test a failover with those virtual machines. And again, similar to instant cloud recovery, but this is purely just for really on-prem virtual machines, or if those running in the cloud as well, just to ensure those VMs will recover and recover successfully as well. So that was kind of a general overview of Veritas, but if we get more specific with Backup Exec, the feature we are looking at is Ransomware Resilience. And basically what that does is it locks down the disk-based backup storage configured with Backup Exec. So access to this disk storage is limited only to authorized processes, such as Backup Exec services, and only Backup Exec is allowed to write to the disk storage. So no other processes can write to the disk storage. And in addition, this was something that was brought in the last release of Backup Exec, so B21. External processes are now not allowed to modify backup data by injecting code into BE processes as well. So really what we're doing here is we're protecting internally and externally as well. So as I said before, we're really trying to be proactive instead of reactive. We're trying to ensure that the ransomware doesn't even get a chance to get to your backup data. And another thing to mention is while the lockdown is enabled, backups and restores do continue to work without a change. So it doesn't affect the backups in any way whatsoever. It's something that is run in the background. And this just gives you an idea of the setup. This setting is enabled by default, and it is the recommended setting to protect your backup data. You can disable this setting if you wish, but it does require system login credentials, and you also have to give a reason to disable the lockdown. So if someone does disable it and they haven't really got a reason why they should have disabled it, you can basically look in the audit logs and it will come up as an event. So you've really got a comprehensive way of just monitoring the lockdown of the storage. So keeping on the theme really of ransomware a little bit, and another feature isn't marketed very well, but again is a fantastic feature, is something called GDPR Guard. So an organization may require to block some of the backed up items for privacy and compliance reasons, such as GDPR. And these items really should not be viewed or restored. GDPR Guard allows you to do that. So it's really a way of storing an immutable copy of your data. and ensuring that that data, whatever reason it needs to be kept, cannot be permanently erased from storage. So as you can see here, data is kept well protected using encryption. Offline information does not become available online. So as I was saying previously, it's just a really useful way to manage erasure. And this is, from a compliance perspective, it is fantastic. So just going to go into a little bit more detail about GDPR Guard and what it does. So an organization can use any tool to create a list of blocked items, and Backup Exec takes this list in the form of a CSV file. The format of the CSV file used for specifying blocked items information during import is generic and can actually accommodate any CSV file generated by different tools. After the blocked items are imported, and they are imported using the Backup Exec management command line interface, so it's through scripting, the restore, browse, and search view do not display the blocked items. So basically, if someone is just browsing for a particular document and they shouldn't really be accessing it or kind of edit it in any way, they won't be able to see it because that blocked item will not be in general view. When you run a restore job, the blocked items are not generally available for restore. And what I mean by that is, if you actually need to restore that item for any reason, that blocked item, you must provide a reason, and you must be of a certain level, a user level within Backup Exec to be able to do that. So again, much like Ransomware Resilience and turning off the storage guard, this is the same thing. It's being able to provide an audit log, basically, associated with the GDPR guard and the blocked items. So really what we're looking at doing is ensuring the information about blocked items is protected. It's protected using encryption as well, and all the operations that are related to the blocked items, as I mentioned, are recorded in the audit logs for compliance reasons. So it's providing an audit trail and making sure that you are compliant within your business if someone does come knocking on your door asking to have a look at your backup processes. So I talked about the GDPR guard process in a little bit of detail, but this is it in full, really. As I mentioned, you use the CLI to basically import a list of block sensitive files via CSV. These will then be stored within Backup Exec, and they're essentially blacklisted. Those items can't be generally restored, and they can't be searched for. As I said, you need to be of a particular user level, so is it typically an account admin or the system login account owner that can actually allow a restore job to happen. Apologies. And then these blocked items can be exported and then saved as a backup. And on top of that, to kind of cover it in Bubba Wrap, you've got an audit trail, and that will cover everything. So restore job override, restore job execution, everything will be recorded to do with that blacklisted item. So Ed did mention at the very start, over the last 12 months, there has been 4 releases of Backup Exec. If we look over 16 months, we've had a total of 5 releases. Each of these have had fantastic features within each release. Some of those I did cover at the start. But it's really just giving you an idea of how quickly we're moving with Backup Exec and how much development is going into this product. At Veritas, we are extremely dedicated to ensuring that we provide the best of backup for our customers. And I hope you can see here that it is continuing to be developed, and we're adding some fantastic features in there. So before I actually talk about what's coming down the road, I just need to raise this forward-looking statement. So this is just saying anything that I cover on the next slide is subject to change. Veritas do have the ability to add, change, take away from what they're going to release in future releases down the road. So just keep that in mind, please. What you see on the next slide might not necessarily happen in the next few releases. It could be further down the line. Saying that, I'll cover what is going to be released hopefully down the road. So the first is Accelerator version 2. So Accelerator was brought in a few versions back, and what they are saying with Accelerator version 2 is that there will be 100 times backup performance improvement. So roughly they're saying a 5 terabyte backup takes just 5 minutes versus 8 hours. Now this is based on particular deduplication rates and the size of data. I can find about a bit more information on that if anyone's got any questions on it. The aim is really to improve the RPO and RTO and enable faster offsite backups. And on top of that, it's leveraging all existing version 12 dedupe benefits. So reduce data movement, reduce storage, and seamless integration. So easy offsite to cloud and tape as well. So really by improving the accelerator feature, it will speed up your backups and help you to reduce your RPO and RTO. The next feature is they are bringing support for SQL in-memory online transactional processing. They brought this in because it is becoming popular with online transaction processing, and they've had quite a lot of requests from different customers, so they have listened, and this is coming in. I wouldn't say the next release, so not 21.2, but maybe 21.3. And the most exciting, I think, feature that is coming down the road is Cloud Catalyst. So I don't know if any of you are aware of or heard of Cloud Catalyst in association with Net Backup, but what Cloud Catalyst is essentially it's an on-prem cache which allows you to increase the speed of backups to the cloud. So you maintain deduplication to the cloud, but it also allows for fast on-prem recovery, which allows you to offset the egress that could be associated if you were restoring from the cloud. So it's really just a way to provide easier movement to and from the cloud without accruing a massive cost. So the reason they brought this in is they're looking at a lot of customers are replacing tape now, and they're backing up not just parts of their environment, but maybe their entire environment to cloud over an existing connection. So with Cloud Catalyst, the aim is to improve performance and overall TCO with optimized bandwidth and storage utilization. This will integrate completely with Windows, so you won't require a virtual appliance or appliance on site. And it can also combine with Accelerator version 2 and the deduplication already within the product to reduce backup times significantly. So they ran on 5 terabytes of data with, I believe it was a 90% dedupe. The time it took was 5 days to an hour going to the cloud. So significantly increased backup times associated with the cloud. So these are early theoretical projections. So they assumed a 10% change rate, 90% dedupe, and full bandwidth utilization of 100 megabits per second pipe. So this is based on their model. So they are likely to change, but on the projections they've got already, it is absolutely fantastic, I think. So hopefully by the end of this year and the start of next financial year, you'll be seeing these within future Backup Exec releases, which is very exciting. So I just thought I'd round up the end of my section talking a little bit around the upgrade paths and also the resources available to you guys around Backup Exec. So we do have some fantastic resources that cover our technology. So PartnerNet, I hope you all have either been on PartnerNet before or heard of it, but we've got lots of data sheets and white papers on there. There's also a really great technical library as well. Something I would recommend that I go to the most in my job and my role is Sort. So it isn't on here, but it's SORT. And it's a fantastic resource. You can access information on all the products, on their end of life of particular versions of products. You can get compatibility lists. You can also get information about admin guides and things like that. So it is a really, I definitely recommend writing that down and having a look at that. So that will be included with web. We've got lots of videos as well. We've got videos on YouTube and a site called InfoBits. I would definitely check out Brian White. He is a very smooth operator when it comes to Backup Exec. He explains it brilliantly. So definitely have a look out for him on YouTube or LinkedIn, because he explains things around Backup Exec really, really well. On top of that, social media, LinkedIn. Brian White posts a lot on LinkedIn, and his videos are really good, as I said. So these are a couple of hyperlinks that I believe, are on the page you can see, but I've just provided a couple of important hyperlinks. So we've got a hyperlink to the Backup Exec 21 trial. You've got a 60-day free trial. Definitely recommend checking this out. It gives you an opportunity to have a play with it. If you're on an older version of technology of the Backup Exec and you want to see what the newer version entails, have a look at the trial, and then you can see what the features are. Obviously, I definitely recommend going on to the latest version of Backup Exec, especially with all the fab new features coming down the line. We've got Backup Exec best practices. This just gives you an overview of the best way to configure your environment. It gives you some ideas around tape, disk, cloud, and some troubleshooting as well. Got a couple of videos here, particularly around BE and SaaS backup. As I mentioned, if you do want any more information on SaaS backup, I know I've not covered it in a lot of detail on this webinar, but if you would like any more information, please feel free to reach out to me. I've got a demo I can walk through as well. I've got a demo of Backup Exec as well. And then we've just got some other key links, so compatibility lists, how to upgrade as well if you're on older versions. The final thing to mention in terms of engagement and some resources you can use is we've got a customer and partner engagement channel, and I don't think this is marketed very well, but it is. I've signed up to it and it is fabulous. So what this allows you to do is to get you can get access to beta releases of the software. So they were doing it on version 21. If you were interested in actually testing out the new release, you can sign up for that. You can get involved in feedback programs. You've got the ability to talk directly with the product teams as well. So rather than having to, say, go through the reseller and myself, you can engage directly with particular product teams through this engagement channel as well. Registration, email, and the website is at the bottom if you are interested in having a look at it. So the final thing I'm going to mention before I hand over to Ed is the upgrade channels, essentially. So if you are on version 15, 16, or any 20 version, so that's 20.4 to 20.6, might be a bit wrong there, but any 20 version, you've got a direct upgrade to BE 21.1. So really simple process on the Backup Exec console. If you've got automated upgrade set up, it should do that automatically. If not, you can just go through the link on the previous slides back can walk you through the upgrade process. Really simple to do. If you are on any version older than Backup Exec 15, so that's 2014, 2012, which I obviously hope none of you are, but if you are, you will have to do a staged upgrade to BE 20 first. So you go 2014, for example, to 20, then to 21.x, whichever version we are on when you decide to upgrade. If you are using central admin, so if you're aware of what that is, it's basically allows you to, if you've got multiple Backup Exec service or domains in your environment, it allows one of them to act as the central admin, the central portal, so you've still got a single pane of glass across all your Backup Exec servers. If you are using that, BE21 can only communicate with managed Backup Exec servers that are BE20 or BE20 to 20.6. So you can have a central admin server as BE21, but all your managed Backup Exec servers underneath that have to be at least version 20. Backup Exec 16 or older managed Backup Exec servers are not supported with BE21. So you really, if you are using central admin, definitely need to make sure you've got the right software running on your managed Backup Exec and your central admin server. So with that, I will pass on to Ed that will talk around renewals.
Thanks for that, Liv. Really good stuff. So yeah, some questions we get asked is, well, why should I renew my Backup Exec license? You get asked probably that more often than we sometimes think. And the simple answer is, if you want everything that Liv's just talked about and future releases coming, you're going to need an active subscription with us. Surprised with the amount of customers that don't actually renew their support, and then we end up, catching them up on a couple of releases because they want and need some of the new stuff, or some of the older versions have gone end of support. So, obviously the fact that we provide 24/7, 365 support when you're in support is obviously critical, but I think testament to the product and to the engineering team that it's actually almost pretty good to a fault that some customers don't tend to renew. So this is kind of why we think you should stay with us when it comes to keeping your product in support. There are different versions in terms of how you can license. Most customers are on perpetual licenses, which means the product works forever. You just need to top up the maintenance, and the maintenance is a fraction of the cost of the license itself. On to licensing, we have simplified things. Lots of you on the call will be on probably lots of different types of licensing. Apologies that the graphics are a little bit pixelated, but traditional Backup Exec for many, many years has been a la carte custom edition. Basically, pick a mix. Agent for Windows here, an agent for application and database over here, and an agent for VMware over here. That is still available. However, we want you to know that we're trying to move away from that, because sometimes customers have a renewal for a relatively simple estate which may have 7 or 8 lines on it. We're now encouraging customers to a bronze, silver, and gold option, which can be licensed in a per terabyte model, or it can be licensed on a per instance model in a pack of 10. The per instance is very, very similar to the current a la carte, but it just means that you're buying packs of 10 and you can allocate the agents as and where you see fit, and you can play around with that. You can mix around with that. We do have a V-Ray as well, which is in the same kind of old school terms of a la carte, which is for kind of purely virtualized environments, licensing per CPU. But really, what I would say is if you've got current licensing with Veritas that's a la carte, or it's capacity or capacity light, they are all at some stage going to be end of sale, or prices may fluctuate. So I would say, we can clean up your estate pretty quickly with getting you on the latest version and on the latest licensing. Makes your life a little bit easier. So, to kind of wrap up from my perspective, I'll come back to one of the first slides that I presented. I think Backup Exec is a great all-rounder. It does meet, all the usual and standard needs of, a kind of mid-sized organization with a respectable amount of data and a respectable environment. All gun and blazing with both, physical, virtual, and also cloud. So I would encourage you, if everyone on the call today, if Backup Exec is your primary product, or maybe you're using others, have a play around with some of the virtual and cloud functions if you haven't yet got them. If you're on old versions, get in contact. We want to get you the latest and greatest. If you're a paying customer, it's not going to cost you a penny. And like we said, future releases will continue to come. And as our customers are still in support, you will get access to that. If you're not in support, we can reach out to the Softcat guys and we can get that and fix that problem quite quickly. So just by way of next step, we're going to run to a quick Q&A. And we're going to hear from you guys if there's any questions on the call. But just before I do that, following this call, before we kind of wrap things up, we're going to reach out to everyone that's attended this call today with a bit of an information pack to summarize a lot of the links and useful places to go that Liv showed in the previous slides. Conscious that sometimes it's difficult to kind of figure out, where do I go for this and where do I go for that? Something that you guys can stick in your inbox and maybe archive somewhere off and get access to it. That if you want to try and figure out where do I get support or where can I get videos on the latest releases, we're going to get that over to you guys, so it makes it a lot easier moving forward. So with that, I will hand over to Zana, who is going to see if we've got any questions.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you to all three of you for running us through that. That was really useful. We haven't received any more questions from the Q&A tool. If you do have any questions, please submit them through that tool on your dashboard now. Otherwise, we'll probably look to wrap up the webinar with a few housekeeping bits as well. I just wanted to say thank you again to the speakers for running through that with us. If you do have any questions after the event is over, please don't hesitate to contact your Softcat account manager. Or if you don't have anyone to contact directly, please email our marketing pot, which is marketing@softcat.com, and we can pass it on to the relevant person for you. As we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we are sending out a copy of this tomorrow, so you should have that with you within the next 24 hours so you can watch it back on demand. And we will also be hosting the on-demand version on our website, so you should see that up in the next week or so. Thanks again to everyone for joining and for staying right to the end. We haven't had any questions come through, so I think we'll wrap the webinar up for now. Thanks again, Scott, Olivia, and Ed for speaking on the webinar today. We hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thank you.